Imagine this. You wake up one morning just like any other. The sun filters softly through your window. You feel the familiar weight of your blanket, the coolness of the floor as your feet touch the ground. The scent of morning coffee drifts faintly from the kitchen. Birds chirp. The world spins as usual, but then your phone buzzes. A message. 5 simple words. Words that shift the axis of your entire reality. Today is your last day. No explanations. No escape, just that. Your heart skips. Your breath tightens. Time slows. Today is your final sunrise. You glance at your reflection. Suddenly, your face feels unfamiliar. You look around your home, the books, the dishes in the sink, the shoes by the door. All the little things you thought you had time for. All the people you were going to call later. But later doesn't exist anymore. There's something about knowing the end that sharpens the present. The noise in your mind quiets. The endless scrolling, comparing, planning. It all seems absurd now. You begin to see what actually matters. You no longer crave more likes, more money, more approval. You crave one thing, presence. To hold your child just a little longer. To tell your mother you forgive her. To feel the breeze as it brushes against your skin. As if the wind itself was trying to whisper, "Wake up." The Buddha taught this truth thousands of years ago. That life is like a dewdrop on a blade of grass sparkling in the morning sun, but gone before noon. He didn't say this to scare us. He said it so we'd stop sleepwalking through life. Because most of us aren't truly living. We're existing. Rushing through the minutes, chasing the next moment, postponing peace. Always assuming we'll have tomorrow. But tomorrow is an illusion we worship. Now picture your final breakfast. You sit quietly. You actually taste the food. You feel every bite, grateful in a way you never were before. Your eyes well up, not from sadness but from wonder. How long has it been since you actually lived like this? One single day, fully alive, is worth more than 1,000 days lived on autopilot. The tragedy isn't death. The tragedy is not living while we're still alive. This chapter isn't about dying. It's about waking up. Because when you live as if today is your last, you stop wasting time on things that don't matter. You stop pretending. You drop the masks. You speak from the heart. You see people, you hear them, you hold them, not with your hands but with your presence. And strangely, something inside you feels lighter. It's not fear, it's freedom. The monks in ancient temples greet each sunrise with a silent bow. Not because the sun is sacred, but because each morning is a gift that won't be given twice. They rise early. They eat slowly. They walk with purpose. They pray not for more time, but for the wisdom to use the time they have well. This isn't romanticism. It's training for the heart, training to meet each moment not with grasping or regret, but with stillness. You see, it's not about cramming life full of bucket lists and last-minute thrills. It's about attention. When you give full attention to this moment, you touch something eternal, and in that space, even a cup of tea becomes a sacred ritual. Even silence becomes profound. We spend years chasing happiness, peace, meaning, as if they're hidden treasures buried somewhere out there. But what if they were right here, in this breath, this morning, this now? No one gets to know the hour or day their story ends, but everyone gets to choose how they live the lines in between. So what if today you slowed down? What if you spoke less but with more care? What if you forgave someone, even if they never apologized? What if you looked at the sky like it was your first time seeing blue? The clock is ticking, not as a threat, but as an invitation. Each second asks you, are you awake yet? Because maybe the real miracle isn't living forever. Maybe the real miracle is living fully, deeply, mindfully, just for one day, and maybe, just maybe, if we learn to live one true day, we'd know how to live all the rest. Camera slows on a peaceful sunrise. And so, As the light of this first chapter slowly dissolves into stillness, we're left with one gentle question. If this were your last morning, how would you choose to live? There's something haunting about knowing this all won't last. The people you love, the moments you cherish, even the body you live in, one day it will return to dust. But what's even more haunting is how easily we forget this. We live as if time owes us something, as if each morning is a guarantee, as if youth is forever and goodbyes are distant. But deep down, we know better. It's in the gray that creeps into our parents' hair, in the birthday candles that keep multiplying, in the way laughter echoes, then fades into quiet. It's in that subtle ache in your back that wasn't there last year. Life whispers its impermanence in 100 ways, but we've grown deaf to the sound. The Buddha didn't ignore this truth. He walked straight into it. He left his palace not because he lacked comfort, but because he saw that comfort was temporary. He saw sickness, he saw aging, he saw death. And he asked the question most of us avoid. If everything I love will pass, what should I cling to? The answer he discovered was simple and liberating. Nothing. Impermanence, anicca in the Pali language, isn't a flaw in the system. It is the system. Everything we know, everything we experience, is in a constant state of change. Your body renews itself every 7 years. Your thoughts flicker like fireflies. The cells in your skin, the breath in your lungs, even the sky above you, it's never the same twice. Clinging to what's meant to change is like trying to hold onto a snowflake in the palm of your hand. It melts, no matter how tightly you grip. Yet we keep trying, don't we? We hold on to people who have already left us emotionally. We chase youth, fight wrinkles, fear aging. We build empires in our minds, assuming they'll stand forever. But no tower, physical or emotional, escapes time. Ask anyone who's lost something suddenly, a loved one, a home, a dream. They'll tell you how quickly the ground disappears beneath your feet. Still, impermanence isn't just about loss. It's also about possibility, because if pain changes, so can healing. If fear fades, so can sorrow. If you're stuck in darkness today, impermanence whispers, this won't last either. Everything you're feeling, fearing, fighting, it will pass. That's the quiet mercy hidden within this truth. A Zen master once asked his student, if everything changes, what can we rely on? The student thought and finally answered, the truth that everything changes. That was the answer. When we stop resisting change, we stop suffering. Suffering doesn't come from impermanence. It comes from the illusion of permanence. So how do we live with this truth? Not by fearing change, but by embracing what is fully, fiercely, while it's here. You don't hug someone thinking they'll be here forever. You hug them because they're here now. You don't savor a sunset because it stays. You savor it because it doesn't. Its beauty exists because it's fleeting. A monk once said, if you truly understand impermanence, you'll fall in love with the world, not because it lasts, but because it doesn't. Imagine what that would look like. You wouldn't waste time holding grudges. You wouldn't postpone love. You wouldn't wait for someday to be kind, to forgive, to breathe. You'd live now, because now is all there is. In many Buddhist temples, there's a custom. Before chanting, the monks strike a wooden bell, a soft, hollow sound. It's meant to remind them, don't waste this life. Because time is not a renewable resource. And yet within this truth lies something unexpectedly beautiful. If everything is temporary, then every moment is priceless, not because it stays, but because it won't. So hold that teacup like it's your last one. Listen to your friend like it's your final conversation. Feel the breeze like it may never blow again, because one day it won't. The silent truth we ignore is not meant to make us fearful. It's meant to wake us up. And if we let it, it might just teach us how to live more fully than we ever thought possible. The world is always changing, but if you stop chasing permanence, you might finally find peace. And when the need to hold on dissolves, you'll see it clearly. Letting go is not the end, it's the beginning. There's a quiet place you've always belonged. You may have forgotten it. You may have walked miles away from it, but it's never left you. It waits patiently. Beneath the noise, beneath the rush, beneath the 1,000 unfinished tasks, and the constant ache of not enough. It's called now. Mindfulness isn't a trick, it's not a luxury. Not something reserved for monks or yogis sitting under trees. It's the most natural thing in the world. And the one thing most of us have forgotten how to do. To be fully here, to sit, to breathe, to taste, to listen, without wanting the moment to be different. The Buddha taught that mindfulness, sati, is the path that leads home, not to a house, not to a person, but to your own awakened presence. Because what we call home isn't a place, it's a state of being where nothing is missing. But modern life pulls us far from that center. We scroll, click, chase. We eat without tasting. We talk without listening. We walk without noticing the ground beneath us. We exist in a fog of distraction, lost in yesterday's regrets or tomorrow's anxieties. And all the while, this moment slips quietly away. But mindfulness invites us back to the rhythm of breath, back to the soft hum of being alive, back to this, where life is actually happening. There's a Zen saying, when walking, just walk, when eating, just eat. It sounds simple, almost too simple, but try it. Try drinking tea without your phone, without multitasking, without rushing to finish it. Try noticing the warmth of the cup, the smell of the leaves, the way the steam curls in the air. Suddenly, what was ordinary becomes sacred. That's mindfulness. It's not changing the moment, it's changing how you meet it. There's a story of a wandering monk who asked a master, "What is the way to peace?" The master simply replied, "Wash your bowl." That's it, wash your bowl with awareness, with care, with full attention, because when you are truly present, even the smallest act becomes a doorway to the infinite. You don't need a retreat to practice mindfulness. You don't need silence or incense or special mantras. You just need your breath. It's always with you, always here, always honest. You can't breathe in the past. You can't breathe in the future. You can only breathe now. And every time you return to that breath, you are returning to yourself, returning home. The Buddha once said, "The mind is difficult to control. Swift and flits wherever it will. Taming the mind brings happiness." But he didn't mean suppress the mind. He meant notice it, gently, kindly. Not judging your thoughts, just seeing them. Like clouds drifting across an open sky. No need to chase them. No need to fight them. Just come back to the sky itself, to awareness, to presence. Mindfulness is the art of not missing your life, because so many people die having never truly lived. They were there, but not here. They were doing, but not being. They were surrounded by beauty, by love, by light, but their eyes were looking elsewhere. So what if today you slowed down? What if you felt the water as it touched your hands? What if you actually listened to your child's laugh? What if you paused before responding? And breath, this is not weakness, this is wisdom. Mindfulness doesn't make life perfect, it makes life real. And in reality, even sorrow holds beauty, even silence holds music. The monks say, one mindful breath is a miracle. One breath fully felt can melt anxiety, can soften grief, can awaken love, because in that one breath, you are no longer lost, you are home. So, pause for a moment, feel the rise of your chest, the fall of your breath, the life happening inside you. Don't rush, don't fix, don't escape. Just be here, because this moment, this ordinary fleeting moment, is the most precious thing you will ever own. No matter how far you've wandered, you can always return. and every return is a beginning. You can be mindful, you can breathe deeply, you can walk with presence and gratitude, but still, none of it will make you immortal, and the Buddha never promised that it would. In fact, he promised the opposite. There was a reason he never wasted a single word. Every teaching, every gesture, every moment he offered came with the quiet thunder of one unshakable truth: time is slipping, faster than you think. One day, a young prince approached the Buddha and asked, "Master, what is the greatest wisdom you've discovered?" The Buddha looked gently at the boy and replied, "All conditioned things are impermanent. Strive on with diligence. No poetry, no philosophy, just a truth we spend our lives avoiding. Everything you know will one day disappear." The Buddha called this the great forgetting, the human tendency to live as if we'll never die, to fill our days with distractions, to hoard, to chase, to argue over petty things, to hold grudges that rot our hearts like mold. And all the while, the clock ticks on. He told his monks, "Of all footprints, that of the elephant is supreme. Of all meditations, mindfulness of death is supreme. Not to create fear, but to awaken you. Because when you truly understand that time is not promised, you start living like every moment matters. And that is the beginning of real freedom." There's a story of a wise king who wanted to be reminded of the greatest truth every day. He summoned his sages and demanded, "Give me a single sentence so powerful that it humbles me in joy and comforts me in sorrow." They returned with just 6 words: "This too shall pass away." The Buddha would have nodded. He knew that joy fades, pain fades, fame, beauty, youth, wealth. They rise and fall like ocean waves. He watched kings lose kingdoms. He watched lovers part forever. He watched strong men grow frail and silent. And he realized, nothing we grasp is truly ours. We are visitors here, and visitors don't get to stay. So why do we act like we have time? We postpone forgiveness. We delay peace. We wait to be kind after success, after healing, after we're no longer tired or hurt or busy. But what if those moments never come? A disciple once asked the Buddha, "When is the best time to practice?" He answered without hesitation, "Now, because you don't know when your final breath will come. It might be years, it might be days, it might be this very hour." And that's not meant to terrify you. It's meant to wake you up. Because the moment you realize you don't own time, you stop wasting it, you speak more truthfully, you love more fiercely. You let go of the nonsense you once called important. You stop asking, "What will I get?" and start asking, "What can I give before I go?" In ancient monasteries, monks used to meditate beside burning candles. As the flame flickered lower, they'd whisper quietly, "As the flame dies, so does this life." Not to feel dread, but to feel clarity. A burning candle doesn't cry for more wax. It simply glows while it can. The Buddha often spoke of the preciousness of human birth. He said to be born human and to encounter the Dharma was rarer than a blind sea turtle surfacing once every 100 years and placing its head through a single floating ring. That's how rare this life is, this body, this breath, this chance. So why would we sleep through it? We chase success as if it will make us whole, but no success has ever outrun death. We decorate coffins with flowers, but what most souls carry with them is regret for the time they squandered, waiting to feel alive. You are not promised old age. You are not promised tomorrow, but you are promised this moment. And if you live this moment with awareness, with presence, with a heart not hardened by fear or greed, then you've lived more than most ever will. Let this truth not weigh you down, but lift the veil. You don't have time to stay numb. You don't have time to be anyone but who you really are. You don't have time to not live, and maybe, just maybe, this is what the Buddha meant when he said, Ardently do today what must be done. Who knows, death may come tomorrow. When death comes close, truth comes closer. All the masks begin to fall. The achievements, the arguments, the endless to-do lists. They stop mattering, and in that final quiet, what remains is real. There's something sacred about being with someone. In their last days, they don't speak in cliches, they don't waste words, they don't pretend anymore. They say the things they should have said years ago. They see with eyes that have nothing left to defend. And what they say often changes everything. A hospice nurse once said, "If you want to learn how to live, spend a week with the dying." Because in those final conversations, there's a kind of wisdom that no book or philosophy can teach. You don't hear people say, "I wish I worked more hours," or "I'm glad I held that grudge," or "I'm proud I never forgave them." No, you hear this, "I wish I had let go sooner. I wish I had been more present. I wish I had loved more freely, more bravely, without holding back." The dying don't speak about perfection. They speak about connection. A man on his deathbed once said, "All I ever really wanted was to feel like I lived with my whole heart." In Buddhist tradition, death is not taboo, it is a teacher. Monks meditate on corpses. They recite chants reminding them of the body's decay, not to be morbid, but to remember what we so easily forget. You are not invincible. You are impermanent, and that is freedom, because when you face death, you also face life. Fully, finally, without filters. It strips away the stories we tell ourselves. It reveals how much time we've spent being half alive. It shows us that presence is the only thing we ever truly had, and the only thing we ever truly needed. The Buddha once told a grieving mother named Kisagotami, who lost her only child, to bring him a mustard seed from a home untouched by death. She searched every house, but each door held a story of loss. She returned with empty hands, but a heart awakened, and the Buddha said, "Death comes to all, but wisdom comes to those who understand it." We don't like to talk about death, but death is talking to us. Every day, in the mirror, in the seasons, in the gray hair that wasn't there yesterday, in the goodbye we thought was temporary. It's not here to frighten you, it's here to wake you up. So many people wake up only after diagnosis, only after loss, only after standing at the edge. But what if we didn't wait? What if we listened? Before the final moment, what if we lived with that kind of clarity now? A woman once said, "It took dying for me to learn how to live." She had been diagnosed with terminal cancer, but in those last months, she laughed more, she forgave. She stopped pleasing people. She wrote letters of love. She watched the sunrise like it was her first time seeing light. And she whispered, "I've never felt more alive." That is the paradox. When we stop denying death, we start cherishing life. We realize the cup is precious. Because it can break, we realize the moment is sacred. Because it can end, we stop rushing. Not because we have time, but because time is no longer guaranteed. And from that space, a different life begins. Not louder, not richer, but deeper, more real, more awake. We hug longer, speak kinder, hold hands without looking at our phones. We listen. And sometimes in that quiet, we hear something we've missed for years, our own soul. The Buddha never said to fear death. He said to understand it, to sit beside it, to bow to its wisdom, to let it shape how we live. Not in panic, but in presence, because when we live in the shadow of death, we begin to see light in places we never looked before. Let this not be just a reminder of mortality. Let it be a reminder of urgency. The urgency to live, to love, to awaken, before it's too late. Sometimes, the heaviest things we carry aren't in our hands, but in our hearts. Old grudges, broken expectations, the need to always be right, the fear of being left behind, the craving for more. And we wonder why we're tired all the time. We weren't meant to carry everything, but somewhere along the way, we confused holding on with being strong, so we clench, we grasp, we refuse to release. But the truth is, it's the letting go that sets us free. There's a story of a monk crossing a river with a traveler. The monk carries the traveler on his back through deep waters. Once across, he gently sets the man down. But hours later, the traveler looks back and asks, "Why do you seem so peaceful?" The monk replies, "Because I put him down. After the river, you're still carrying him in your mind." That's us. We carry people, pain, and stories. Long after the moment has passed, we replay conversations, we reopen old wounds, we grip old dreams, even when they no longer fit the person we've become. The Buddha taught, attachment is the root of suffering, not love, not joy, not effort, but clinging. The desperate, panicked need to hold on to what is slipping through our fingers. Letting go does not mean giving up. It means no longer arguing with reality. It means trusting that some endings are actually the beginning of a freer, lighter life. We clutter our lives, not just with things, but with mental noise. 100 tabs open in the mind. What if? Why me? When will it get better? And the more we think we control, the more we become prisoners of our own need to control. But freedom begins when we stop clinging. Look at the trees, they shed their leaves without resistance. They don't mourn the autumn. They don't beg the wind to return what was lost. They stand bare and open to the winter because they know spring will come. Letting go is not a one-time act, it's a daily practice. Each morning, we ask ourselves, what am I holding on to that is no longer holding me? What can I lay down just for today? A toxic thought, a resentment from years ago, a version of yourself you've already outgrown. We don't realize how much space healing needs until we stop filling it with everything else. Letting go creates room to breathe, room to feel, room to return to the peace that was buried beneath all the noise. You don't need to fix everything. You don't need to win every battle. You don't need everyone to understand your journey. You only need to be still enough to hear your own truth. The Buddha left his kingdom, his palace, his jewels, even his identity, not because he hated the world, but because he saw through it. He let go so he could see clearly. He let go to find what can never be lost. And maybe that's what we're all really searching for. Not more stuff, not more followers, not even more time, but less weight, less fear, less pretending, just space, just peace, just presence. Letting go is not passive, it's courageous. It says, I trust the flow of life more than I trust my fear of change. It says, I don't need to control everything to be at peace. So today, let it go, whatever it is. Say goodbye, unclench your hands, set it down just for a while. Feel how light you become, how free, how simple life feels when you stop trying so hard to hold what wants to leave. Because once you've tasted simplicity, once you've felt the breeze of freedom, once you've remembered what it's like to be weightless, you won't want to go back. There is beauty in the empty spaces. There is truth in the silent release. And when we no longer chase, no longer grip, life finally has a chance to come to us. We often wait for grand moments to show love, Valentine's days, anniversaries, goodbyes, but life is not lived in grand moments. Life is lived in morning coffees, in the quiet, did you sleep well? In the way we smile when someone walks in the room. Love is not a performance, it's a presence, a way of being, a quiet vow that says, I see you, I choose kindness, even when I don't have to. The Buddha didn't teach love as a theory. He taught it as a practice. Metta, loving kindness, a daily cultivation, not just for people we like, but for all beings, even the difficult ones, especially the difficult ones. We think kindness has to be soft, but real kindness, it's fierce. It says, "I will not let the bitterness of this world poison my heart." It says, "I choose love, even when the world forgets how." There's a story of a monk who sat beside a man dying from anger. This man had hurt others, burned bridges, driven everyone away, but in his last breath, he asked, "Is it too late to be forgiven?" The monk held his hand and whispered, "Never too late, if you can forgive yourself first." That's the power of kindness. It's never too late, not for healing, not for returning, not for love. Kindness doesn't need an audience. Some of the greatest acts of love will never be seen. The father who wakes before dawn to make breakfast, the stranger who holds the elevator, the nurse who speaks gently to a patient in pain. These small gestures are the bricks that build a sacred life, because in the end, people won't remember what you wore, what you owned, or even what you achieved. They will remember how you made them feel. Kindness isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It knows that everyone is fighting a battle you cannot see, so instead of judging, we soften instead of reacting. We breathe instead of shutting down. We stay open. You don't have to agree with someone to be kind to them. You don't have to fix them or change them or save them. You just have to see them, to recognize their humanity. Beneath the fear, the mask, the mistakes, there is no spiritual path. Without love, you can meditate for hours, chant mantras, read scriptures, but if you forget to be kind to the person right in front of you, you've missed the point. Start small, smile at the cashier, say thank you with your eyes, send a text just to say, "I'm thinking of you." And don't forget, include yourself. Be kind to your own tired body, to the thoughts you wish you didn't have, to the parts of you still healing. Some days, kindness looks like making tea for someone you love. Other days, it looks like turning off your phone and really listening. And sometimes, it looks like doing nothing at all, but being present without needing to fix a thing. We live in a world that moves fast, that prizes sharpness, speed, and self-promotion, but there's quiet rebellion in slowing down, in softening, in choosing compassion, when you could choose coldness. What if today you didn't just feel love, but practiced it in how you speak, how you walk, how you look at the people you pass? What if you made kindness a ritual, not for reward, not for recognition, but because that's who you are, when you strip away everything else? And what if, just maybe, the real reason we're here is not to be remembered, but to be felt, to be the warmth someone carries long after we've left the room? So love fully, without holding back, without waiting for perfection. Say the kind words, offer the hug, be the peace you wish the world had more of, because in the end, when the breath is thin and the curtain begins to fall, we won't ask, "How much did I get?" We'll ask, "Did I love deeply enough?" And if the answer is yes, that will be enough. Love begins the awakening, but awareness, that's how we stay awake. We've all had those rare, crystal clear moments where time slows down, where you notice the way the light moves across the floor, the way someone's voice softens when they say your name, the exact rhythm of your breath as it rises and falls. It's not that these things suddenly became special. It's that you finally showed up for them. That's mindfulness. Not something you do, but something you become, fully here, fully human, fully alive. We often think mindfulness means sitting in stillness, eyes closed, breath steady, but real mindfulness, it walks with you into the kitchen. It stands beside you in traffic. It sits across from you at dinner. It's not about what you're doing, but how you're doing it. Washing the dishes can be a sacred act. If you're truly there, brushing your teeth can become a meditation. Taking out the trash can be a reminder that everything, even waste, can be released with grace. Thich Nh letter 1 5t, H letter 1 1 and H once said, "Drink your tea slowly and reverently, as if it is the axis on which the world turns." Imagine that, a world that turns. On the way we hold a teacup, not because the cup is important, but because your attention is. We waste years waiting for big breakthroughs, but miss the miracle of folding clothes. With love, we want to change the world, but forget to be present for the person sitting right next to us. We chase after peace while stepping over it 100 times a day. Every moment counts because each one is a doorway, a chance to return to the here and now. And the truth, the present is the only place you'll ever be free. When you walk, feel the ground beneath your feet, as if it were sacred. When you eat, taste the colors, hear the textures, see the story of the earth in every bite. When you listen, listen without planning what to say next. Listen with your whole face, with your breath, with your heart. Mindfulness in action is about letting life touch you, not numbing, not rushing, but allowing the moment to be enough. There's a Zen story about a man who asked his teacher, "What is enlightenment?" The master replied, "Chop wood, carry water." Confused, the student asked, "But what about after enlightenment?" The master smiled. "Chop wood, carry water. Enlightenment isn't escape. It's intimacy with this life, this very breath. This messy, beautiful, ordinary now. Most people live in a trance, half scrolling, half talking, half dreaming. But when you choose to wake up, to truly arrive, you begin to see things as they are, not colored by your fears, not filtered by your past, just real. Mindfulness isn't a retreat from life. It's a way back into it. It doesn't make pain disappear, but it teaches you how to sit with it, without judgment, without panic. It doesn't make joy last forever, but it helps you savor it before it slips away. The Buddha taught that we each carry an inner island, a place of refuge, available in every moment. We choose to return. You don't need a mountain. You don't need silence. You just need to pause, to breathe, to notice. The miracle is not in walking on water. It's in walking on the earth. With presence, it's in being so alive, so attuned, that even a breeze on your cheek feels like a blessing. What would happen if you made eye contact with your life again? If you stopped treating the day like an obstacle and started meeting it like an old friend? What if your next email, your next sip of coffee, your next exhale was a sacred ritual? Mindfulness in action is the art of living like it all matters, because it does. Your presence is not a small thing. It is the one thing that changes everything. So today, move slowly, breathe deeply, look kindly, bring your full self. Do each task, each interaction, each step. Let every moment count, because this life, just as it is worthy of your whole attention. There's a lie we've all been told, maybe not in words, but in the silent pressure of everyday life. It whispers, you must be perfect before you can be present, that you need to fix yourself first, to heal completely, to meditate flawlessly, to clean the house, solve the chaos, calm your mind. Then you can breathe. But what if that day never comes? Today is the day, not when everything is in order, but precisely when it's not. Not when you feel ready, but because you never truly will. Not when you've perfected the art of living, but when you finally stop waiting to begin. We spend our lives preparing to live, getting ready to arrive, but constantly postponing presence, waiting for the ideal version of ourselves to show up and take the wheel. But the truth The real you is already here, imperfect, messy, late sometimes, still learning, still stumbling, but present, and that is everything. Presence doesn't require perfection. It requires permission to be here, just as you are, with your full, flawed, radiant humanity. You don't have to fix your anxiety before noticing the way sunlight filters through the window. You don't need to stop overthinking to taste the warmth of your morning tea. You don't need to be fearless to love someone with your whole heart. You just need to say yes to this moment as is. Imagine if trees only bloomed on perfect weather days. Imagine if the ocean held back its waves until every storm had passed. Imagine if your heart waited to beat until all pain was gone. Life would stop, but life doesn't wait. It pulses forward through chaos and calm alike. It doesn't ask for your perfection, just your participation. There's deep power in choosing to show up exactly where you are, with trembling hands if need be, with a heart that still aches, with dreams that feel unfinished, but with eyes that are open, because presence is not a luxury. It's not reserved for the enlightened, the monks, the peaceful few. It's your birthright, and it's waiting right here in the dishes, in the dog fur on the floor, in the sound of your own breath. The Buddha didn't promise perfection. He taught the path of seeing clearly, and sometimes what we see is our own resistance to being here. We want to escape, to numb, to overachieve, to hide in goals and checklists and the illusion of control. But the practice is simple. Come back, again and again and again. Each time you remember, you are here, you are alive, you've won something, you've reclaimed yourself from the fog. And it doesn't have to be dramatic. It could be as quiet as putting down your phone and looking up. Choosing presence means you don't need a perfect morning routine or 10-step spiritual plan. It means you greet the morning as if it were your last, because one day it will be. So laugh a little louder, forgive faster, leave the dishes in the sink sometimes, so you can dance in the kitchen. Let the people you love hear it from your lips. Today, let the version of you that you keep postponing be the one who walks out the door now. Don't wait until you're perfect to start living. Don't wait until you've figured it all out to be fully alive, because the secret is no one ever does. Today is the day to stop fixing and start feeling, to stop judging and start experiencing, to stop managing your life like a project and begin meeting it like a miracle. The clock will not pause. The stars will not realign. No one will announce when it's finally time, because it's always time. Now is the only doorway, the only altar, the only truth. So inhale, as if the world depended on it. Exhale, as if you trusted all will be okay. And then, just be here, not perfectly, just presently, because today is the day you stop waiting to live. There is a strange kind of freedom that arrives when you stop running from the end, when death no longer hides in the shadows, but sits beside you as a quiet teacher, not to scare you, but to remind you how precious this breath is. Most people don't live, not really. They postpone joy, delay love, and hold off on laughter, as if they'll one day receive a written notice that says you may begin now. But that message never comes. Death isn't the enemy, fear is. Fear of endings, fear of uncertainty, fear of loving too much or living too fully, in case it all slips away. But the truth, it will slip away, all of it, and that's not a reason to panic. It's the exact reason to awaken. Because once you stop clinging, once you stop begging time to slow down, you begin to move differently. You laugh more freely, you speak more gently, you listen more deeply. You start showing up, not out of obligation, but out of reverence. This life is not a possession, it's a gift, and like all true gifts, it's meant to be opened, shared, and eventually released. The Buddha never promised that life would be permanent. He promised that awareness of impermanence would set you free, to see each moment as sacred, each connection as fleeting and therefore miraculous, each goodbye as a teacher in disguise. When you truly understand the end, you stop fearing it, and when you stop fearing it, you finally begin to live, not someday, not next year, but now. You hold your loved ones closer, not because you're scared to lose them, but because you remember. You will. You savor the rain. You notice the wind. You marvel at the silence between thoughts. You see your life not as something to control, but as something to honor. This is the invitation death gives us, not to be morbid, but to be awake, to live without regret, to speak truth while you can, to forgive now, not later, to walk gently, love fiercely, and leave quietly when it's time. And maybe when that final night does arrive, you won't beg for one more day, because you lived this one, as if it were the only one. So take this moment, not just as the end of a chapter, but the beginning of a vow to show up fully, to bow to the beauty of your fleeting life, to love without hesitation, to be present, not perfect, because when you no longer fear the end, you begin to live truly, deeply, and freely. If this touched something within you, something quiet and true, consider joining us. Subscribe to Zen Buddhism Wisdom and walk this path with us, a path of presence, of insight, and of living fully, one mindful breath at a time, because the world needs more awakened hearts, and yours might be next.